This is another one of the hundreds of cancer studies that basically shows how exercise begins the apoptosis, self-destruction cycle of cancer cells, and also slows the proliferation of the disease. The summary says there is strong evidence that physical activity has a profound protective effect against multiple types of cancer. Here we show that this effect may be mediated by factors released from skeletal muscle during simulated exercise. So these factors that they're talking about are actually called exercise factors. They are a subset of myokines, and those are the tiny proteins that change our body in amazing ways. They send signals from the muscles to tons of organs through the bloodstream that basically improve our body in the most miraculous ways possible. The best way to access the power of myokines is to do very intense muscular contraction. This doesn't happen walking, it doesn't happen with things of that nature. Jogging doesn't even really cut it to get into the very depths of recruiting every muscle fiber we possibly can in our bodies. It's not an easy thing to do. The safest way to go about this, even for senior citizens, even for 95-year-olds, like I've had a 95-year-old client doing this with me, machines in gyms are going to be the safest way to do this. Now, I put together a free PDF, and it's down below. So I want you to download that from your email once you get it, and then get started checking it out. If you have questions, I want you to ask them. For some people that really need absolutely every avenue covered and to be shown this, I have a course available that goes through almost 5 hours of exactly what you need to know to succeed in these amazing proteins changing your body in these unique ways to cause that self-destruction cycle in cancer. We've learned so much in the past 20 years about exercise, about how biological science works with skeletal muscle. We found out that skeletal muscle is not just benign tissue. So all of these guys who were getting really ripped and doing bodybuilding stuff, if they weren't on steroids, of course, then they were getting some amazing health benefits in their body just by doing this all of the time, by fully fatiguing the musculature of the body. The whole entire body has changed in amazing ways. And killing cancer is just one of the many, many things that these myokines do to the body. I'll make tons of videos on all of those things. Of course, this is about cancer today. The three most prevalent types of cancer that there have been research studies about myokines with have been breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and then also prostate cancer. Those are the three most common cancers that we are absolutely certain through research myokines will kill those cancer cells. Of course, if the environment of the organism is set up for that. And we're talking about anti-inflammatory diets, anti-inflammatory anything, just like exercise. See, myokines are anti-inflammatory in nature, and most cytokines are not. In fact, when they found the first myokine in people's bloodstream, they assumed that it was a cytokine called interleukin-6 that was proliferating disease. In fact, one of the diseases that it helps proliferate is cancer. So when they found interleukin-6 in someone's bloodstream, they didn't realize that it was acting as a myokine, that it was actually doing the exact opposite of its function if it isn't sent by skeletal muscle or secreted by skeletal muscle into the bloodstream. So that's fascinating in itself, but there are multiple myokines that have been found and pointed to that are all useful in this process. And so what we know about skeletal muscle now, Dr. Hennemann's principle is very clear, and it says that we recruit muscle fibers in the first repetitions we do that are very easy to perform. We're recruiting the very smallest groupings of those muscle fibers first. And then as we continue and we raise in intensity, the very last bit of effort that we can put in, the very largest grouping of muscle fibers is recruited in that very moment, which also gives us the most health benefits than any other repetition, because we know that the smallest groupings recruit first, the last ones recruit at the very end when we can't move those weights any further. That's why when we're talking about this from a medical perspective, a biological perspective, talking about exercise in this scientific manner, it's very important if we're doing this for something like health benefits, it is so important that we know that we have to put in the maximum effort possible. So all of these things are explained a little bit deeper in the course that I'm offering, but it's the procedure of doing this method in a safe manner that's not going to injure you that is so important. So I will tell you this again, if you do need some guidance, please watch some of my other videos, but jump on that course when you're able. That is my best advice. So getting to the very end of this study, which by the way is incredible, this will give you some really good advice as well, just at the end of this study. They say, in summary, we demonstrate that the protective benefits of exercise against breast cancer can be attributed, at least in part, to myokines released by contracting skeletal muscle, independent of any hormonal or whole body effects of regular physical activity. These myokines suppressed cancer growth independent of whether they were derived from the muscles of a sedentary or active animal, indicating that the release of anti-cancer myokines is an inherent property of muscular contraction. What they're saying is that if you start doing this today and you are able to contract your muscles in the most meaningful and intense manner that we're looking for to get those biological changes, then it will be the same for you delivering those health benefits within myokines in your body. It'll be the same for you as someone who is a seasoned athlete doing the same contraction. So look, all that says is you can start today and get absolutely the very most out of exercise that you possibly can. In my free PDF, it describes exactly how you can do that. Now, I know it's so compact, just so much information into about 7 or 8 pages, but at the same time, it still is everything that you need to know to get started. It's not super easy if we're talking about someone who's never dealt with these machines in a gym before or has been, I guess you could say, intimidated by them. And a lot of ladies can even think that these machines are just for men, or that, there's all these strange mythologies about fitness that aren't true, that, eventually it'll just simply be common for everybody to know about exercise science. But unfortunately, because all of this stuff is so new, within 20 years, literally, is when we started researching all of this. All of this being so new, it takes time for the science of a thing to really catch on. I used this example multiple times when I talk about these things in my public speeches or even here online, or in my emails that I send out from my mailing list. Back in the 1800s, early 1800s, there was a meteor shower that hundreds and hundreds of people saw. There were 3,000 to 4,000 meteors that fell from the sky in France, and all those people saw the meteor shower, but it still took about 100 to 200 years for people to start believing, and for scientists to even start believing, that rocks fall from the sky. And I joke around, in other videos, I say I sure hope it doesn't take that long for exercise science to really catch on into the mainstream, to where fitness trainers just will know this stuff in the future, right? As opposed to none of them knowing it right now. And not even many doctors knowing it right now, which is critically mind-blowing to me. And that's why I'm doing this. I just really want this information to get out there. So if you can as well, if you know somebody who needs to hear this about intense exercise, who has struggled with cancer, share this video with them at the very least, and then they'll have more to work with, because it can be just that one small thing that puts it over the top. One of these studies, in fact, they saw, after doing exercise in a very intense manner, 11.7% less proliferation of cancer in their body. And they were even very likely doing a type of strength training that isn't even come close to the intensity of effort and the health benefits that they can gain from full high intensity exercise. You know, very slow moving, safe for the body, intense strength training is what you're after. Like I said, there are links below. I have that course I offer. The PDF is free. There's no reason not to download it and look at my offerings and see. Get started today, tomorrow, in the gym, working toward being free of cancer. It's a very helpful tool. That, and of course, having an anti-inflammatory diet with no sugar. I hope that you live a longer life through the science of strength training. Have a fantastic week.